On All About Stocks this week, the MCX IPO is oversubscribed almost 50 times. Find out what you should be doing with your allotment. Sharmila Joshi picks Bharti Airtel and DCB as smart investment options right now. Find out why. And later on the show, DLF down 10% this week. We'll tell you what you should be doing with your DLF holding. Welcome to All About Stocks. You're watching ET Now. This is the show for long-term retail investors. On this show, we do the homework for you and find the right opportunities for you in the market at the right prices. Now, before we go on to find those opportunities, let's get a quick wrap on what happened in the Lal Street this week. My colleague Ajay has all of the details. Ajay.
Well, it was a week of losses for the Indian markets. Actually, the first weekly losses seen in 2012. So, Indian markets gave up close to 2% on the benchmark indices, Nifty and Sensex. It was the broader markets which saw a deeper cut coming in, with the mid-cap index down close to 3.5% or thereabouts. But there were definitely some individual movers. Stocks like BPCL rallied close to 6%. Some of them like TCS also rallied over 3%. The mid-cap stocks which were in focus, Alfa Laval, the delisting candidate, rallied 23% this week. Giving company, Godrej Properties, also rallied close to 17%. It was financial technologies, the one stock in focus, the subsidiary of which is going for an initial public offering, the MCX. Financial technologies lost close to 10%, but MCX is witnessing heavy subscription in all the key categories. But all in all, one would say that despite upgrade of Sensex target coming in from CLSA to 20,800, the markets witnessed profit booking this week.
Well, Ajay, the big story also that took up a lot of newsprint this week was Kingfisher Airlines. It cancelled nearly 50% of its flights. Tell us, what are traders doing with that stock right now? What are you hearing on the street?
Well, the one stock in focus this week has been Kingfisher Airlines. There were some cancellations which the news came in a couple of days back, over 50% of the flights being cancelled. The stock took a toll of over 9% erosion coming in this week. There were comments coming in from the government side that a bailout has yet not been approved. The management of Kingfisher, however, maintained that they are undergoing some difficulties, and they have come up with a revised schedule of the reduced flights, and they have approved it to the DGCA. But all in all, definitely the Kingfisher shareholders were a worried lot because of the sharp erosion in market cap being seen.
Thank you for that information, Ajay. Joining us now to help us make sense of all of that information is Sharmila Joshi, the head of equities at Fairwealth Securities. Sharmila, always a pleasure to have you on All About Stocks. Thank you so much for joining us this week. We saw some profit booking in the market this week. How long do you expect this to continue? What are your expectations from the market on Monday morning?
Really, I think if the last day of expiry was anything to go by, especially the last half an hour, and the way you saw markets recover a little and kind of pare their losses, that leads me to believe that perhaps we are not done with the bull run that we've seen. So possibly it's a bit of a breather. Let's hope the breather lasts a little longer. But I think it'll also be a function of really the way FI flows continue and the kind of important data points that we have in March. So it will be a combination of things really. So not maybe Monday, but I would expect to see a recovery in the market in the next week, and then maybe from there on things could start looking a little tepid or range bound, or a little depending as we get closer to the election day, the counting dates, as well as the RBI policy, then the budget, etc.
Well, obviously, like you said, the market is looking now at the budget, the RBI policy, maybe cues from Uttar Pradesh as well for positive triggers. What are your expectations? I want to start with the budget first. What are your expectations from the budget? How do you think the market is going to play out on budget day?
I think more important than the budget, is what you said, that perhaps market is also looking at the fact that you could see a slightly positive kind of a result from UP, which would kind of indicate that some of the reforms that we have been talking of could get pushed through. So you would expect to hear something either on the FDI front or something to do with the power sector, because I think that's again that has been something that the government has been talking about. So things like that, I think that market will probably pay more attention to that than the actual budget, because I think a lot of things in the budget are discounted. For instance, you do know that your fiscal deficit is going to be higher. So it's going to be more to do with the quarter policy, the quarter term, the review, the RBI review, because you'd wait to see if what they talk about interest rates and when they're likely to cut, etc. And if there is anything concrete happening on the policy front.
Two big stories that we had this week. One was Kingfisher and the other one was the MCX IPO. I want to start with the IPO first. Closed on Friday, and we know that it was oversubscribed nearly 50 times. Now, what do you expect from this IPO on listing day for those of our viewers who have applied? Do you expect a big bang listing day for MCX?
I think first of all, just the number of times it's got so oversubscribed should, tell us the kind of interest a good IPO will get. I think that after a long time we saw an IPO which kind of aroused that kind of interest in investors. So I think that in itself was very heartening. And, I think to talk about price, obviously we don't have any parallels to compare it with, but I think if you were to look at, similar issues overseas, then you would expect that the kind of money that you stand to make on MCX is higher than the IPO price. So market's already giving it a premium of about 300 to 350 rupees. So I think that's broadly the expectation that's getting built in, that on listing day you could see a price of about 1300.
So for retail investors who possibly might get an allotment of the MCX IPO, would you recommend then booking some of those profits on listing day, or is this a stock that they should hold for the long term? What would be your call for MCX?
I think it's always a good idea to book a little bit of profits. I mean, just wait and see what kind of interest there is, because, at the end of the day, institutional interest will also drive the stock. So I think if you see huge institutional interest build up before the IPO, then, ride it and then exit. But it always makes a lot of sense to book some profits on the first couple of days from listing, because, the data seems to suggest that a lot of the stocks don't see those kind of prices again.
Sharmila, my other question to you is obviously Kingfisher Airlines. Now, we saw all of that unfold this week. Ajay was also telling us about the flights that have been cancelled, the bank accounts that have been frozen. What's your call on the Kingfisher stock right now for those of our viewers who haven't gotten out of it up till now and they're still holding Kingfisher stock? What would you recommend they do?
Overall, I think aviation is a sector where it's not very easy to play it, because there are a lot of headwinds, that whether it is fuel prices, whether it's policy, things that go wrong for them. Some things have begun to change in the sense that now, FDI has been allowed. So that's been a positive for the sector, because I think all the players within the sector have reasonably high debt, and I think that way the Kingfisher, the way it has played out has kind of brought it further to light. So I think if you waited this long, then you can wait it out a bit more and see what happens to the stock.
We have, of course, our portfolio segment coming up next. Now, this is the segment where we pick one lucky viewer every week, and our guest takes a look at your entire stock portfolio and tells you what you should and should not be holding. Nitin Kumar is our lucky viewer this week, and he has a time horizon of 2 to 3 years. Sharmila, he wants you to help him figure out what stocks he should hold and if he should buy any more of the ones that he already has in his holdings and average them out. He tells us he has Axis Bank, HDIL, he has Pantaloons Retail, SAIL and Tata Steel. Now, Pantaloons Retail, which he bought at 245, that stock is currently at 174. What's your call on Pantaloons Retail? Would you recommend that he should hold on to it or maybe buy some more?
I think Pantaloons Retail, we were just speaking about it a little earlier, in the context of the policy action that is expected, because we saw that multi-brand, FDI just about to happen and then it didn't happen. So that was a little bad for Pantaloons, because I think, given the kind of debt that they have and, the kind of positioning they've done, they pretty much were banking on, this thing happening in their favor, and, then they would have taken their story forward. So as we hear now, I think, they've kind of, they're re-looking at their business and they're re-looking at how they want their verticals to be projected going ahead. I believe there have been some changes in the management, etc. They've spoken about, selling of future capital and focusing on this business and cutting debt there, etc. But I think the real trigger for the stock would come if that multi-brand FDI is allowed.
All right, and what about the rest of his portfolio? Axis Bank, HDIL, SAIL, this seems to be breaking even from the price at which he bought these shares. There's also Tata Steel that's down about 60 rupees from his cost price. So when you look at his portfolio holistically, for someone who has 2 to 3 years to wait it out, which of these shares would you recommend he holds on to or maybe buys more at this point?
See, the absolute certain holds are Axis Bank and SAIL for sure. And Axis Bank, I think among the private sector banks, the kind of numbers that they've been giving, the kind of NII growth that they've shown, the kind of growth that they've shown in advances, etc., that all has been, absolutely nothing to complain about there. So it's been these issues really to do with NPA levels and the kind of sectors that they've lent to that have been a drag on the bank. But I think with a 2-3 year horizon, I'm pretty comfortable with Axis Bank. I think same goes for SAIL, because I think they have a lot of inherent advantages, because of the kind of raw material tie-ups that they have, as well as the kind of capex plans that they are talking of. So yes, it's a high beta sector, so that would apply to both SAIL and Tata Steel, that when markets go down, you see them going down more than the rest of the market, and when markets start recovering, you see the recovery equally fast, which is what we've also seen for SAIL and Tata Steel. Coming to HDIL, real estate is not a play that I like much, but I think within that space, if there are a couple of stocks that I like, then HDIL would be among them, largely because of the the model that they have, where they have a reasonable kind of the outlook that you're getting, in terms of the way they'll be able to monetize their land bank, especially with the redevelopment business that they are in, that they have a stronghold in, especially in the Mumbai region. That seems to be, kind of in their favor, and there I think possibly they are on a stronger wicket than, some of the other real estate companies.
Okay, Nitin, so that's the advice you're getting right now. Keep a close eye on Pantaloon Retail, especially for any movement in policy on FDI in retail. That will help the stock. The rest of the stocks in your portfolio, Sharmila, they're recommending that you hang on to them for the time being and wait a couple of quarters. Now, if you want your portfolio looked at by us, all you have to do is write to us on the email ID that's at the bottom of your screen. We're going to come back after the break, and Sharmila is going to recommend 2 stocks for us this week. She's picked Bharti Airtel and DCB. That's after the break. Don't go anywhere.